Hello and welcome back to my wee YouTube channel. Um, my name's Neil Murphy. I'm a whisky writer, blogger, and I work for the Isle of Whisky Academy. I am the kinship host over there, which means I help run the group for Academy alumni. And I recently started making wee YouTube videos. Partly that was because the videos that I was doing on Instagram and TikTok weren't long enough. Um, so I find that once I start, I've actually got quite a lot to say on certain subjects, and the short video format of Instagram and TikTok was starting to get quite frustrating because I felt like I could never get everything in that I wanted to say. I mean, they do let you upload longer videos now, but they tend to get throttled a wee bit. They don't do quite as well reach-wise. So I thought maybe do a bit of YouTube. I've been on here doing live streams for the Isle of Whisky Academy and stuff, so I thought maybe just bite the bullet and actually start putting videos up myself. It's just a bit of fun, really. But I'm on for a bit of a moan today, probably. This is something I've spoke about a wee bit over on my Insta and my TikTok and things, and in my Facebook page and stuff. And it's really the problem of premium and luxury whiskey. Now, let me say straight off that when I say problem, I don't have an issue with there being expensive whiskey out there. I can't afford it, but that's all right. I don't expect every whiskey to be affordable by me. I don't think every dram needs to be in a budget that I can manage. It's okay that there's stuff I can't afford. One thing I do sort of demand, though, is that distillers and bottlers and stuff who put out expensive stuff make sure they put out stuff that's of good quality at an affordable price as well. I think there's too many just now that seem to be pushing more and more towards the premium side of things and not really caring about the entry level side of things. And if you don't get people in at the entry level, why should they go up to the premium level with you as well? Um, I just think you have to show people a bit more respect than that, and show your brand more respect. Your entry level, your flagship bottling should be a statement of intent. I'm thinking of people like, Brew Laddie with the classic Laddie, for example. That's a fantastic dram. And I would argue it's almost as good as anything else they put out. It's not as flashy as the Octomores and some of the Port Charlottes and the Bear Barleys and all that. It's not as flashy as that, but it's a good, solid, everyday dram that's at a good price, at a good ABV, and maintains an excellent standard. That's the sort of thing I'm talking about. They can do their flashy ones. Octomore's 5 years old, and yet it's £160 a bottle now. I don't really mind that because they've got the classic laddie out there that's a great bottle that everybody can afford, right? That's the sort of thing I'm talking about. The other thing that sort of gets to me about this premium stuff is the amount of column inches, if you like, or virtual column inches that it takes up. It feels like every time I scan my news feed, all I get is this new premium bottle's released and that new premium bottle's released, or this auction record's been broken, this bottle of Macallan has sold for $2 million, this cask of Ardbeg has sold for £16 million. And I just think, why should we care? Why should any of us care about that? I can't afford to drink this stuff, I never will in a million years, and that doesn't bother me. But why is it of interest to me? Am I supposed to be aspirational? Am I supposed to look at this and go, I wish I could afford that? Because that's not how I feel. I want to read about drams that I can afford to buy. And from what I can gather, most other people want to do that as well. Some of the most successful reviews that I've written on my blog are for affordable drams. In fact, the most popular articles I've written are reviews on Aldi and Lidl whiskies. That just shows you that everyone out there is looking for a bargain. Everyone out there wants to know where they can get quality for a small amount of money, or for as little an amount of money as possible. I don't mind spending a bit, but you want to know where your quality is going to be matched to the price of the bottle. I don't care about the next £10,000 bottle being released by Highland Park. Why should I? So I'd like to see a bit more of a redress. Why does Whisky Magazine feel it has to talk about expensive bottles and auctions and the new exclusive collection from Dalmore? You know, talk about whiskies that everyone knows and loves and can drink. Um, Having said all that, in some ways, I see a wee bit of hope, maybe, um, that maybe the balance has been redressed a wee bit. There's been a few things I've saw recently. I mean, most notably, obviously, there's been articles out that there are signs that sales in the luxury end of the market are actually falling a wee bit. Um, and that I don't know that that comes as a surprise. Times are hard, but you know, hard times. Does hard times affect the people that are buying in the luxury market anyway? I don't know. But you feel like a lot of the people who were buying these four-figure bottles, did they really have a true passion for whiskey at all, ever? Or were they just sort of jumping on whatever the latest bandwagon was, you know, the latest cool thing to spend your fortune on? That's kind of what it felt like to me anyway. And when that's the case, you wonder how soon is the fad going to end? How soon is the trend going to end? How soon are these people going to move on to whatever the next cool thing is to invest in or to collect? And I just wonder if we're seeing a wee bit of that now. You know, times have changed. There's been financial crises all over the world, but there's war all over the world, for goodness sake. And yeah, I just wonder if, you know, collecting luxury whiskey is maybe slipping down the priority list for people a wee bit. Um, and the other thing I've seen, I mean, I spoke about this on Instagram as well, that I saw recently a advert or I say an advert. It was an article. It was an advert, a paid advert basically, for Diageo's new Talisker, which is a 45-year-old single malt. Now, nothing wrong with that at all. You know, again, release these whiskies if they find a market or whatever. Great. I love the idea that there's a 45-year-old Talisker out there. That's fantastic. But they had to, or they felt they had to finish that Talisker in specially made casks, which they had sent to Canada, and then the casks were exposed to cold weather, and the casks were split by the ice that formed. So they call it ice fractured oak. And the claim is, of course, that once the oak's fractured, then the spirit will penetrate more deeply and blah blah blah. We've heard all this before. There's a million ways to get the spirit to penetrate more deeply. Um, but let's be honest, that's just one big gimmick. It's just a huge gimmick. I mean, okay, splitting the wood, whatever, if you felt you needed to do that, but why did it need to go to Canada to be done with ice? There must have been a way to do that in the lab. And more to the point, why did you feel you had to add that new layer onto a 45-year-old Talisker? Is a 45-year-old Talisker not something special that it can sell in itself? Surely that sells itself. Surely being a 45-year-old single malt from one of the most unique and sort of treasured and beloved distilleries in Scotland, if not the world, surely that's enough. Why do you need the gimmick of ice fractured oak casks as a finish on that whisky? I actually find that kind of obscene, but I wonder if it's symptomatic. I wonder if we're seeing the luxury market now at saturation point where it's not enough just to put out a great big age statement because everybody's putting out great big age statements. There's 80-year-old Macallans out there. So 45's nothing in that market, you know. So now they feel they've got to have something else, some other marketing point, some other gimmick on top of that. And I think that's quite sad, really. But you know, I just wonder if we're seeing sort of maybe things starting to slow down a wee bit. Then the day after that, I noticed that Master of Malt are doing raffles now. And to be honest, that actually annoyed me, you know, because that's the sort of thing I've seen people on social media advertising whiskey competitions, but they're raffles, you know. You buy a ticket, you're entered into a draw. If you're lucky, your ticket comes out and you get the bottle. That's a raffle. They masquerade as a competition. They get round gambling laws by putting a question at the start. You know, so you have to say, which country does Scotch whisky come from, or something like that, so that you're allowed to enter the competition. But it's a raffle, right? It's a raffle. We all know it's a raffle. You're buying a raffle ticket, you're entering a raffle, you win a raffle prize. It's a raffle. Um, and I've seen loads of people doing that, calling themselves whiskey competitions and all the rest. I've seen them on Instagram, I've seen them on Facebook. It's just another way of flipping whiskey. It's another way of making more money out of whiskey that you're flipping on. That's all it is. You can buy a bottle for £200, you sell raffle tickets worth £300, you've made £100 straight away. Yes, some lucky sod might get that bottle for the £20 they paid for the ticket or whatever it is, but most people won't, and you make a great big dirty profit on something that you put no skill into whatsoever. It's flipping. It's just the same as ticket touts. It's just the same as the people who buy their bottle and stick it straight on the van going to the auction house. It's just the same thing. You're making money off of something that you shouldn't be. And while that sort of grates on me, as you can clearly tell, um, I was really saddened to see Master of Malt doing that. And apparently it's been going on for a wee while, but it sort of hadn't really caught my attention. But I find that quite tragic that one of the biggest online retailers, it feels the need to run raffles to get rid of its luxury stock. And that's what most of it was. It was like a Balvenie 40-year-old, a collection of 21-year-old malts from different distilleries, things like that. That's what you were entering to win rather. But you know, that's so you see, like the Balvenie was a great example. It was £49 for one ticket to enter that raffle, £49, and they were selling 199 tickets. So basically, they're selling £10,000 worth of tickets, just a bit short, £10,000 worth of tickets. And then you look everywhere online, and that bottle is selling for £7,000 on just about every other website. So they're making £10,000 on a £7,000 bottle. It's just flipping. And that's an online retailer, a massive online retailer. I'd love to know what Balvenie and William Grant's actually think about that. You're dealing with people who are just profiteering on your whiskey, putting huge markups on your whiskey. I think that's actually obscene for somebody like Master of Malt to be doing that. And that's a company I used to use. I used to be on an affiliate marketing thing with them on my blog. I used to direct people from my blog to go and buy stuff from Master of Malt if they so wished. I found them to be a reliable, trustworthy retailer. And now I see they're just another flipper, another price gouger. I find it really disappointing, but again, I wonder if it's symptomatic of a change in buying habits. They've got 40-year-old Balvenies lying about, and they're looking around and thinking, who is going to pay £7,000, £8,000 for this bottle? Who's going to do it? But we can always rely on the public's desire for a bargain, the public's desire to gamble, because that's what this is gambling. They can always rely that there will be enough people who will take a punt on a £50 ticket for a 1 in 200 chance of winning that bottle. So to me, it stinks of a lack of trust in their ability to sell this stuff on at its full normal price through normal means. That's what that seems to me. And I just wonder if we're starting to see signs of that now across the whole industry, that the confidence in the luxury end of things just isn't there anymore. Or at the very least, cracks are starting to appear. And we certainly don't need to be reading about £10,000 bottles of whiskey. Let's start championing the guys who are putting out quality at a good price. Let's write columns and columns and columns and talk for hours on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram. Let's talk about the guys that are putting out good quality at good prices. Let's champion them. Let's stop talking about the auction records. Let's stop talking about Macallan altogether. Let's stop talking about Dalmore's new King Alexander, the whatever collection. We just don't care. We don't care anymore. Put out good whiskey that people can afford to drink. Then we'll be interested in your brand. Otherwise, we're just no interested anymore. Alright, folks, I think I've probably shouted and bawled for long enough there. So, thanks once again for joining me. I'll no doubt be back at some point to rant some more when somebody else has annoyed me. In the meantime, you can check out my writing at whiskyreviews.net. You can find me on Instagram at Whiskey Neill, on Threads at Whiskey Neill, and you can find my Facebook page, Whiskey Reviews, on Facebook, obviously. All right, cheers now.